contributor. Well, I think we're going to get to it in a second. Dan Bongino is with us. Rose, let me start. You know, I read this off the top of my head. Felony disorderly conduct. Now, I know that's legal speak in this case for filing a false police report, but we now know we have the videotape of the two people that say he paid them money buying the very items that were used in the attack, and those two people went before a grand jury today before these charges were filed.
I mean, we do have a grand jury indicting. In Illinois, that's required for any case that there will be possible prison term. Here, he's facing 1 to 3 years, but his attorneys have issued a statement, and I think it is important to say he does have a presumption of innocence,
Absolutely.
as does everyone else. Possibly these two concocted the whole scheme and claim he did, but maybe they were the ones that did it. I'm not saying that. Based on what we have so far, that's not looking good for Smollett, but there is always a possibility that he is innocent. So I think we should take a step back. Let's see how the case proceeds.
It doesn't look good for him, I'll tell you that. Dan, we'll get to you in a second. First, joining us from Chicago is Raver Weigel. I fired him last night, but, you know, apparently you're taking heat for doing a news report on my show in Chicago. Gee, I'm sorry. But you've been great on this story.
No, I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you, Sean. I'm grateful to be coming back on.
And I do apologize for mispronouncing your name, but I think I'm just going to do it on purpose from now on. But go ahead.
No, I mean, listen, it was good TV, but no, as you said, Sean, this does not look good for Jussie Smollett. Chicago police are essentially now accusing him publicly of making the entire thing up, and it looks like we can now start to use the word that police asked us not to use before, and that being hoax. Smollett's legal team and prosecutors met today for several hours at the Cook County Courthouse trying to work out some kind of an agreement. No agreement was reached, and therefore prosecutors put the grand jury in play. The two brothers, Abel and Ola Osendero, testified before that grand jury for 2.5 hours. Their attorney telling me no plea deal was reached. They were not granted immunity because they did nothing wrong. Meanwhile, the evidence seems to mount that these two brothers did stage this event. We got surveillance video, Fox 32 obtaining surveillance video from a beauty supply store showing these two men walking into this store buying a red hat, ski masks, and the date of this video was January 28th. That is the day before the incident is reported. So the brothers are cooperating with police, saying Smollett put them up to it. Smollett says that they're the ones lying. The brothers' attorney says Smollett's the one not telling the truth. Take a listen. Jussie Smollett says they're lying. What do you say to that?
I think Jussie Smollett should come clear because the truth will set him free.
And that was me asking her that question. Let's give the statement from Jussie Smollett's legal team, which we got about an hour ago. Like any other citizen, Mr. Smollett enjoys the presumption of innocence, particularly when there has been an investigation like this, one where information, both true and false, has been repeatedly leaked. Given these circumstances, we intend to conduct a thorough investigation and to mount an aggressive defense. As your other guest said, a Class 4 felony, that could be 1 to 3 years in prison. Jussie Smollett is due in bond court tomorrow at 1:30. The question is, will he show up? If he doesn't, there will be a warrant issued for his arrest. Sean?
All right, Raver Weigel reporting in Chicago tonight. Thank you for that report. We bring back in Rebecca Rose Woodland and Dan Bongino. This is really sounding more and more if the testimony is true. I do want to give due process, but it's not looking good, Dan Bongino. Is this a hate crime hoax in the making? And consider all the examples I mentioned with Lynn Wood. The media, it sounds similar. They want to believe the worst about Donald Trump and his supporters.
Yeah, I mean, the list of hate crime hoaxes goes on and on. That doesn't mean racism and hate crimes don't exist. It just means the ones that have garnered significant media attention over the last years, large swaths of them happen to be hoaxes. I mean, that's just a fact, Sean. And listen, I agree with your guest and you. Due process, of course. I mean, this is probably the only network that actually covered this case fairly from the start and didn't jump the gun. But remember, Sean, due process doesn't mean we can't think about this critically like reasonable human beings. And that's what I think you, I, and a lot of other people did from the start when there were questions, fair questions to ask. Sean, I was a street cop in the 7-5 precinct in East New York, Brooklyn. I used to walk a post at from 6 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning. You see a couple of guys on a relatively empty street in an industrial area at 2 o'clock in the morning with bleach and a noose, wearing MAGA hats with no one else around. It may not be reasonable suspicion to pull him over, but it's probably worth giving him an extra look. Nobody thought this was unusual, this story, that some people just were carrying around bleach in the middle of the night to randomly attack an actor. And in this show, it just...
In a 4-degree weather
minor
and a
amount
storm.
of critical thinking would have...
You know, I did what I did.
Red flags should have went off everywhere.
You know, Rebecca, I did what I did in the Zimmerman Trayvon case. I actually went there and talked to the people. In the Duke Lacrosse case, I talked to some of the parents and some of the kids. When the rest of the mob rushed to judgment, they're wrong so often. Now, when do they start getting held accountable? Because you look at the Smollett case, you look at these Covington kids and Nicholas Sandmann, there's a lot of similarities here.
A lot of similarities, Sean. I remember I was here for the Duke case with you. I was here for Trayvon Martin with you.
You were on the right side with me. That's right.
And what's unfortunate here is if Jussie did this, why? Why are you playing into such hate, such negativity, when there's such an opportunity now to bring people together?
But no, but the media has a narrative. And the reason the media jumps and they don't look, like, it would have taken them 6 seconds to find out the truth in the Nicholas Sandmann case.
Oh, I know.
Not even a phone call did these people make. They're gonna lose. Lynn Wood is going to destroy every one of these big media outlets. I guarantee it. It's a slam dunk, and they will all pay.
Sure. And in this situation, we should have that again. I mean, there is no reason why everyone has to jump to judgment with the MAGA hat. It is ridiculous.
15 last seconds. Dan.
Sean, listen, you asked who's going to hold the media accountable. It's already happening. The court of public opinion is all that matters, and very few people trust the media anymore like they used to 50 or 60 years ago.
Thank you both. When we come back, huge breaking news on the deep state. Get this. Turns out the FBI's top lawyer wanted to charge Hillary Clinton. Sarah Carter, John